and welcome to Friday's episode of the Literary Lutheran Reads the Book of Concord. Today we are continuing to go through Article 8, the Person of Christ, from the Solid Declaration of the Formula of Concord. We believe, teach, and confess that now in this one undivided person of Christ there are two distinct natures, the divine which is from eternity, and the human which in time was received into the unity of the person of God's Son. These two natures in the person of Christ are never either separated from or mingled with each other, nor are they changed into each other. Each one abides in its nature and essence in the person of Christ to all eternity. We believe, teach, and confess also that both natures mentioned remain unmingled and undestroyed in their nature and essence. Each keeps its natural, essential properties to all eternity and does not lay them aside. Neither do the essential properties of the one nature ever become the essential properties of the other nature. We believe, teach, and confess that it is the property of the divine nature to be almighty, eternal, infinite, everywhere present at the same time, and all-knowing. In other words, it agrees with the properties of the divine nature and its natural essence. These are essential attributes of the divine nature. Never in eternity do they become essential properties of the human nature. On the other hand, these are properties of the human nature. Being a bodily creation or creature, flesh and blood, finite and located in one place, it suffers, dies, ascends, and descends. It moves from one place to another, suffers hunger, thirst, cold, heat, and the like. These properties never become properties of the divine nature. We believe, teach, and confess that now, since the Incarnation, each nature in Christ does not exist by itself, so that each is, or makes up a separate person. These two natures are so united that they make up one single person in which the divine and the received human nature are and exist at the same time. So now, since the Incarnation, there belongs to the entire person of Christ personally not only his divine nature, but also his received human nature. So without his divinity and also without his humanity, the person of Christ or the incarnate Son of God is not complete. We mean the Son of God who has received flesh and become man, see John chapter 1, verse 14. Therefore, Christ is not two distinct persons, but one single person, even though two distinct natures are found in him, unconfused in their natural essence and properties. We also believe, teach, and confess that the received human nature in Christ has and retains its natural, essential properties. But over and above these, through the personal union with the deity, and afterward, through the glorification, Christ's human nature has been exalted to the right hand of majesty, power, and might over everything that can be named, not only in this world, but also in that which is to come. Ephesians chapter 1, verse 21. Consider this majesty to which Christ has been exalted according to his humanity. He did not first receive it when he rose from the dead and ascended into heaven. He received it when he was conceived in his mother's womb and became man, and the divine and human natures were personally united with each other. However, this personal union is not to be understood, as some incorrectly explain it, as though the two natures, the divine and the human, were united with each other like two boards glued together. Some say that, indeed and truth, they have no communion whatsoever with each other. This was the error and heresy of Nestorius and Samosatenus. As Suidas and Theodore, presbyter of VIII, testify, they taught and held that the two natures have no communion whatsoever with each other. In this way, the natures are separated from each other, and the two Christs are constituted. So Christ is one, and God the Word, who dwells in Christ, is another. That is what Theodore, the presbyter, writes. At that time, the heretic Manes lived, and also by the name of Paul. Though born in Samosata, he was a bishop at Antioch in Syria. He wickedly taught that the Lord Christ was nothing other than a mere man in whom God the Word dwelt, just as in every prophet. Therefore, he also held that the divine and human natures are apart from each other and separate. In Christ they have no communion whatever with each other, just as though Christ were one and God the Word, who dwells in him, the other. Against this condemned heresy, the Christian Church has always simply believed and held that the divine and human nature in the person of Christ are so united that they have a true communion with each other. The natures are not mingled in one essence, but as Dr. Luther writes, they come together in one person. So on account of this personal union and communion, the ancient teachers of the Church, before and after the Council of Chalcedon, frequently used the word mixture in a good sense and with true discrimination. To prove this, many testimonies of the Fathers, if necessary, could be quoted. These are to be found frequently also in the writings of our divines, and they explain the personal union and communion using the illustration of the soul and body, and of glowing iron. For the body and soul, as also fire and iron, have communion with each other. This is not by a phrase or mode of speaking or in mere words, that is, so that it is merely a form of speech or mere words. But the communion is true and real. Nevertheless, there is no mixing or equalizing of the natures introduced, like when mead is made from honey and water, which is no longer pure water or pure honey, but a mixed drink. It is far different in the union of the divine and the human nature in the person of Christ. It is a far different, more grand, and altogether indescribable communion and union between the divine and the human nature in the person of Christ. Because of this union and communion, God is man and man is God. Neither the natures nor their properties are intermingled, but each nature keeps its essence and properties. This has been the Literary Lutheran Reads the Book of Concord, and I wish you all a blessed weekend.